were so many other plays where it felt like Asia was bullying other players on the Fever, and I want you to watch this play here with Lexi Hall. She's standing her ground, she's trying to down screen, and Asia just chucks her to the ground. Now, there was no whistle there, and you can see ref number 16 right there. He's watching the whole thing happen. No whistle.
That moment right there, A.A. Wilson, the league's MVP, throwing Lexi Hull to the floor with a referee standing just a few feet away. No whistle, no call. Burn that image into your memory. Now, hear what that same MVP said after the game. A special whistle, that's been the Aces storyline ever since they dropped Game 4. They want you to believe that Aaliyah Boston and the Indiana Fever were handed a win by biased officiating, that the two-time defending champs were robbed. They've cast themselves as victims of some grand conspiracy. But anyone who studies narratives knows the official story is rarely the real one. And today, we're pulling back the curtain. We've got the tape they don't want you to see. The missed fouls, the repeated aggression, and one telling comment from an injured player on the bench that proves this meltdown had nothing to do with the refs. It was about a championship team that couldn't handle getting punched in the mouth. This is the truth behind how Sophie Cunningham exposed A.A. Wilson's lie. We live for investigations that cut through the noise and shine a light on what really happened. If you believe the tape doesn't lie, hit that like button. It tells us you're here for more deep dives the mainstream won't touch. Now let's connect the dots. To understand the hypocrisy, you need to understand the narrative the Aces built. It started in the post-game press conference. The box score was brutal. The Fever shot 34 free throws to the Aces 11. And Coach Becky Hammond, she didn't even bother to hide her disgust.
Certainly felt like a differently officiated game than other parts of the series. I think we had more defensive 3 seconds today than any other part of the playoffs. I just wonder how you felt about the overall flow of the game.
Well, they shot 34 free throws and we shot 11. Next question. I got to go back and look at the tape, but it seemed like there was a lot of grabbing and holding down there. That got called one way. Anything else? I did appreciate it was a little tighter called, but tighter on both ends.
They shot 34 free throws, and we shot 11. Next question. That wasn't analysis. That was Becky Hammond planting a flag, turning her post-game presser into a declaration of war against the officials. She drew a line in the sand and handed her team an excuse simple enough for any fan to rally behind. We didn't lose, we were cheated. Her MVP followed right in step, mocking Aaliyah Boston with that infamous special whistle line. The message was crystal clear. This wasn't about being outplayed. It was about being wronged. And for a frustrated fan base, that narrative is pure fuel. But as narrative analysts, we don't stop at the first layer. We ask the next question, is it true? Was that 34 to 11 free throw gap proof of a conspiracy, or the predictable result of two teams playing completely different styles of basketball? The truth. Indiana didn't stumble into those free throws. They earned them. Their entire game plan was built on one principle: relentless aggression in the paint. While Vegas settled for jumpers, Indiana attacked. They drove the lane. They crashed the glass. And most importantly, they kept feeding Aaliyah Boston in the post, over and over again. When Boston was asked how she managed to dominate the league's MVP and earn 13 trips to the line, she didn't credit the refs. She credited her strategy, early seals. That might sound like jargon, but it's the key to the entire controversy. By sealing her defender before the pass arrived, Boston caught the ball just feet from the rim. From there, defenders only had two options: give up a layup or a foul. The Aces chose to foul. That isn't bias. That's punishment for poor interior defense. Indiana lived in the paint. And in basketball, the paint is where fouls happen. Simple as that. So here's the real question. Was A.A. Wilson's complaint valid, or did Aaliyah Boston simply expose a glaring weakness in the Aces' defense? Drop your take in the comments, but remember, this is only half the story. Because to really see the hypocrisy, you have to stop listening to the excuses and go back to the evidence. The Aces want you to obsess over the free throw numbers. They want you to see 34 to 11 and feel robbed. But the truth? The most damning proof isn't in the fouls that were called, It's in the ones that weren't.
So many other plays where it felt like Asia was bullying other players on the Fever, and I want you to watch this play here with Lexi Hall. She's standing her ground, she's trying to down screen, and Asia just chucks her to the ground. Now there was no whistle there, and you can see ref number 16 right there. He's watching the whole thing happen. No whistle.
Let's roll the tape one more time. Watch closely. Lexi Hall is just trying to set a routine down screen. Nothing special. Now look at Wilson's reaction. That's not battling for position. That's not physical playoff basketball. That's a blatant two-handed shove, sending a smaller player crashing to the floor. And the referee, he's standing just a few feet away, watching it unfold. No whistle. Play on. And yet this is the same MVP who sat at the podium after the game, mocking Aaliyah Boston with that special whistle jab. The hypocrisy couldn't be more obvious. For 3 straight games, Fever fans and analysts have been pointing out the pattern. Las Vegas was allowed to play a far more physical style, getting the benefit of the doubt on 50-50 calls, while Indiana was being whistled for the smallest contact. This clip, this shove, is the smoking gun. Proof that Game 4's whistle wasn't a gift. It was a correction for the imbalances of Games 1, 2, and 3. And here's where it gets even more explosive. While Wilson was busy spinning a victim narrative for the media, one of Indiana's own, stuck on the sidelines, decided she'd had enough. Enter Sophie Cunningham, a key guard for the Fever, sidelined for the season with a brutal MCL tear. She couldn't fight on the floor, but she still had a voice. And as she watched the media narrative tilt toward the Aces' complaints, she fired back on social media with a brutally honest post, and it's about damn time. I honestly thought the refs did a nice job today on both sides. That wasn't gloating. That wasn't claiming favoritism. That was relief. Relief that for the first time in all series, the whistle felt fair. It was a direct counterpunch to Wilson's special whistle spin. The only thing special about Game 4 was that the officiating finally caught up to reality. This wasn't a polished press conference soundbite. This was raw, unfiltered truth from the trenches. The voice of a team that felt it had been battling not only the defending champs, but the officials too. That simmering frustration is what fueled Indiana's edge. And once the calls leveled out, their relentless pressure overwhelmed Vegas. The meltdown was complete. In the final 30 seconds, with the Aces desperately needing a miracle, their Hall of Fame coach handed Indiana the dagger. Becky Hammon called a timeout she didn't have. Technical foul. Free throw. Fever possession. Game over. A self-inflicted wound that sealed the series and exposed the hypocrisy at the heart of the Aces narrative.
I think for me, this from day one has just been a really special group. We've hit a lot of adversity collectively. I had some tough stuff that I was going through personally, and this group would just rallied around me, rally around each other. And truly do live the mantra of we over me. And it's just been a really, really special group. You don't always get these opportunities to coach groups like this, at the professional level especially. And I think because they're who they are as human beings, it allows us to continue to put.
That wasn't just a mistake. That was the breaking point. The final crack in the dam that proved Indiana's relentless pressure, combined with a fairly called game, had completely shattered the defending champs. The Aces didn't just lose to the Fever. They lost to their own frustration, strip away the excuses, the sound bites, and the headlines, and what's left is crystal clear. Aya Wilson's special whistle complaint was never about fairness. It was never about justice. It was a smokescreen, a distraction designed to cover the truth. Because here's the reality, we all saw Wilson, the league's MVP, shove Lexi Hall to the ground with a referee standing just feet away. No whistle. Play on. And yet, moments later, that same MVP sat at a microphone and claimed Aaliyah Boston was the one getting special treatment. That's the story the Aces have been pushing since the moment they dropped Game 4. That the Fever didn't earn it, that they were gifted by a biased crew. They painted themselves as victims of a grand conspiracy. But if you've been watching closely, you know better. The tape doesn't lie. The missed calls, the pattern of aggression, the shove everyone saw, and Sophie Cunningham's brutally honest message from the sidelines all tell the real story. This wasn't about the refs. This was about a champion team that couldn't handle being punched in the mouth. This was about Indiana exposing cracks in the dynasty's armor, and that's why we're here, to filter out the noise and bring the truth to light. Sophie Cunningham exposed the lie, the Fever exposed the weakness, and the Las Vegas Aces exposed themselves.